It was just a normal school morning, until a heavy, unnatural fog rolled in. A young girl walked into that fog and vanished within minutes. No one saw where she went, no one knows what happened, and the truth has been hidden ever since. The morning of October 12th, 2018 began like any other. But by sunrise, it would become a day seared into the town's memory, a day when the ordinary became the unthinkable. It was just before 7 a.m. when 15-year-old Lily Anderson stepped out of her front door. The air was thick with an unusually dense fog, a white blanket that swallowed sounds and shapes. She was heading to her bus stop, a walk she'd made 1,000 times before. But on this day, she would walk into the mist and never be seen again. Within minutes, she simply vanished. Lily was a bright, quiet girl, known for her love of art and her dependable nature. She was a sophomore at Northwood High, a good student with a close circle of friends. Her family described her as cautious, someone who wouldn't take risks or talk to strangers. Her daily routine was predictable, almost clockwork. Home, school, friends, home. Her route to the bus stop was short, just a 10-minute walk through their quiet, suburban neighborhood. It was a place where doors were often left unlocked and children played freely in the streets. Nothing truly terrible had ever happened here. The community felt safe, insulated from the kind of darkness that lived in newspaper headlines. Until that morning. The timeline of Lily's disappearance is chillingly precise, pieced together from fragments of evidence and witness accounts. At exactly 7:10 a.m., her mother watched from the kitchen window as Lily, a small figure in a blue jacket, turned the corner at the end of their street and was consumed by the fog. It was the last time she would ever see her daughter. A few minutes later, a security camera on a house 2 blocks down captured a fleeting image. Through the swirling mist, a blurred figure matching Lily's description is seen walking. The timestamp reads 7:14 a.m. The quality is poor, distorted by the weather, but it's her. She was on her path, on time. Then, at approximately 7:16 a.m., a delivery driver waiting at a nearby intersection reported something strange. He saw a dark-colored sedan, an older model, slow to a stop beside the sidewalk, right where Lily would have been walking. He couldn't see the driver, or if anyone was on the street, the fog was just too thick. The car just sat there, idling. Seconds later, a scream. A resident living near the bus stop was woken by what she described as a short, sharp cry. She dismissed it at the time, thinking it was just teenagers messing around. It was only later, when the news broke, that the sound would come back to haunt her. By 7:20 a.m., the bus arrived at the stop. The driver noted that Lily, who was never late, wasn't there. The corner was completely empty. The fog was beginning to lift, revealing nothing out of place. Just an empty bench and a silent street. When Lily didn't arrive at school, the clock started ticking. The search began. Police scoured her route, a methodical grid search through the damp, quiet streets. What they found only deepened the mystery. They discovered a single set of footprints, identified as Lily's, on the muddy shoulder of the road. They followed a direct path toward the bus stop, and then they just stopped, abruptly. There were no signs of a struggle, no scuff marks, no indication she had run or changed direction. One moment she was there, the next, she wasn't. It was as if she had been lifted from the earth. Beside the point where her footprints ended, investigators found tire marks. They were faint in the soft ground, but clear enough to identify. They didn't match any of the cars belonging to residents on the street. They suggested a vehicle had pulled over, stopped, and then accelerated away quickly. These marks were just feet from where the dark sedan was reportedly seen. But the most critical piece of evidence was missing. Lily's backpack. It was a distinctive dark green canvas bag, heavy with textbooks and a sketchbook she took everywhere. Despite extensive searches of the area, the woods, and nearby retention ponds, it was never found. It had vanished with her. And then there was the CCTV footage. The camera that captured the blurred figure of Lily had a strange, inexplicable glitch. At 7:15 a.m., just a minute after she passed, the feed cut out for exactly 90 seconds. When it came back on, the street was empty. The camera's owner insisted it had never malfunctioned before. Technicians who examined the device could find no logical reason for the shutdown. It was a missing 90 seconds in the exact window of her disappearance. Suspicion quickly fell on the few people who were out in the fog that morning. The driver of the dark sedan became a primary person of interest, but with no license plate and only a vague description, the car and its driver seemed to have melted away with the morning mist. Police put out an alert, but no credible leads emerged. Then there was the early morning walker, a man who regularly walked his dog along the same route. He told police he had seen a girl in a blue jacket, but that the fog was so dense, he couldn't be sure of the time. He claimed to have seen nothing else, heard nothing unusual. His story was checked and rechecked, but with no evidence, he remained just a witness. A more unsettling lead came from another witness, who recalled hearing voices near the bus stop around 7:15 a.m. She couldn't make out the words, but she was certain she heard a calm, female voice, followed by the younger, sharper cry. The presence of a woman complicated everything. It didn't fit the typical profile of a stranger abduction. Who was this woman? And was she working with someone? The camera shutdown also raised red flags. Was it a coincidence? Or was it a deliberate act? Could someone have used a signal jammer to create a blind spot, a perfect window for an abduction? The technical possibility was there, suggesting a level of planning that was deeply disturbing. With little evidence to go on, theories began to swirl. The most prominent was a targeted local abduction. The perpetrator likely knew Lily's routine, knew the neighborhood, and used the freak weather as a perfect cover. The fog wasn't just a condition, it was a tool. The suddenness of it, the lack of a struggle, suggested she may have been lured by someone she trusted, or at least didn't immediately fear. Perhaps the female voice the witness heard was the key. The possibility of an accident was quickly dismissed. There was no physical evidence of a collision, no debris, and the tire marks were not consistent with a hit and run. This was not an accident. This was deliberate. Investigators also began looking into cold cases, searching for similar patterns. They found 2 other cases from neighboring counties, years apart, where young women had vanished on foggy mornings. The details were eerily similar: quiet locations, a sudden disappearance, and no evidence left behind. The connections were tentative, but it painted a chilling picture of a potential serial predator who used the weather to hunt. Years have passed. The fog of that October morning has long since lifted, but the cloud of uncertainty over Lily Anderson's disappearance remains. The case grew cold, another file in a cabinet filled with unanswered questions. Her family and the community were left with a wound that would not heal, a ghost that walked the quiet suburban streets. But recently, there has been a new development. A small, degraded DNA sample, recovered from a leaf near where the tire tracks were found, was recently resubmitted for advanced forensic genealogy testing. The technology, which didn't exist in 2018, offers a new glimmer of hope. It could build a family tree, leading investigators to a suspect they never knew existed. The case, once frozen in time, may be on the verge of thawing. For Lily's family, it is a fragile, terrifying hope. A chance for answers, a chance for justice, a chance to finally bring their daughter home. The girl who vanished into the fog remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries. A reminder that sometimes the greatest monsters aren't the ones that hide in the dark, but the ones that wait in the white, silent shroud of the morning mist. Thank you for watching. To help us investigate more cases and support the families of the missing, please subscribe and share our channel. You were watching CaseFyx.